Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this sled going down the hill animation and scene. We're going to start with just the hill and the simulation that gives you the displacement to make it look realistic. In following videos we will show you how to make the sled, the trees, and so on. But for now we're going to start with just the hill and the simulation and move on from there. Okay, we're going to start by deleting our default. No, you know what? We're going to keep it. We're going to use it. Let's hit tab to go into edit mode. Scale it on the Z axis till it's nice and thin. Scale it on the X axis. That's S and Z, then S and X for X axis. And we have a basic sled shape. Hit Control R to make a loop cut down the center, and then Control R on each side of that to give us the shape we want. Underneath we're going to go to Face Selection and select. Hold Shift and select both of these faces. E to extrude. Automatically goes to the Z axis, so just bring it down so it's the basic shape of a sled. Exit edit mode, and we have our sled. We're going to this sled needs to be kept simple because we want boxy shapes for our simulation. We will add a more detailed sled in later, but it's very important that we keep this very simple. Hit Shift A and add a plane. Hit enter edit mode and hit S to scale, and take it up to about the size of your grid. We can hide, exit edit mode, and go ahead and hide our cube because we don't need that. We're going to go back into edit mode and hit W to subdivide, and for number of cuts let's enter 120, and that should be enough of a mesh to work with. We're going to edit sculpt mode. I'm going to set it to inflate, and under symmetry lock we're going to turn off the X symmetry, and we're just going to sculpt out a mountain, and it can look however you want it to look, or a hill more realistically. That should be good. Set it to smooth shading, and we're going to set up our camera now. 0 to enter camera view, N to open our properties panel, lock camera to view. Holding your middle mouse button you can pan, and shift middle mouse button will pan. Holding the mouse button will rotate, and shift middle mouse button will pan. And just set the camera to the top of the hill, to the view you want. And while we're here, we're going to go ahead and set this to location rotation and enter a keyframe. We're going to drag the timeline to around 140. We're going to select our camera. We're just going to drag it to the bottom of the hill. Last view, and set a keyframe there. Oh, I forgot to set the first keyframe didn't work, so we'll go back to the top and do that. The camera wasn't selected the first time. Now we're going to unhide our cube and bring it to the top of the hill. It's a little bit big, so we're going to scale it down. Also, I'm going to go into edit mode and select all. Control N to fix the normals because it looked strange. So we want to kind of dig it into the snow a little bit. As a sled would be. Something like that. And we're going to set a keyframe for our sled. then we're going to go to frame 140. We're going to bring our sled down to the bottom of the hill. And do the same thing. Looks pretty good. We're going to do a keyframe for it there. And then we're going to start to work our way backwards a couple frames. And as the sled sinks in the snow, we're going to bring it up. Add a keyframe. Add a keyframe. Test it. And just repeat it till it works all the way to the top. Now we should have a good sledding animation. We're going to actually set the end keyframe to 120. Should be good. Now for our simulation, we're going to bring out our properties. This panel to physics. We're going to make this our dynamic paint brush and add brush. For paint source, we're going to change it to mesh volume plus proximity. Then we will right click to select the hill, dynamic paint, add canvas, and you should see some blue. You can go through it to make sure the blue follows it down the hill. And if it does, we're looking good. We will change this paint to displace. And it's not perfect. And most likely what we need is a little bit more geometry on this hill. Yeah, that's exactly what's going on. So we're going to subdivide it. We're going to add a subdivision surface modifier, view of 1, and go ahead and apply it. And then try the simulation again. That's significantly better. So we'll add another subdivision surface with a level of 1 after it, and that should give us what we need. It will slow things down significantly. Okay, so now we want to save our project. And then we can go to the dynamic paint settings for the hill. And under dynamic paint cache, we can bake all dynamics. And let's see what it looks like. I think the placement of the sled would improve this slightly. Yeah. That's okay. So later on in the next video I will show you how to make the actual sled, but for now I'm just going to show you how to use that sled that you will have already created. We're going to append one I already have put together. We're going to line it up with the box and scale it down to make it fit. We're going to select our sled and then Shift select our box, Control P to parent, Object Keep Transform. We're going to select just the box and come here into the properties. We're going to set maximum draw type to wire. We need to go to Blender Cycles. And for cycle settings, we're basically going to uncheck every ray visibility option that is there. So now it appears as though our sled is doing this. Now you'll see some wonkiness, and this is just to do with the mesh itself. If you make a better mesh with lots of topology for it to work with, it will do a better job. But another way to fix it is to just limit your animation, make this much longer and limit your animation to the areas where it really does work well. I really don't know how to solve that otherwise. Okay, and if you go into rendered view, you will see that it appears as though our sled is tearing up the snow and not the box. And the reason we do this is that the sled has complex geometry that really makes a mess of the simulation, so you want to keep it simple. And that's it for this tutorial. We will get into materials, trees, making of the sled, snow, and such things in later videos.